Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope this Friday afternoon is treating you well. It's been a good week for me. Had a great day today. I was coming back, looking to do some more content for the ESO. Unfortunately, I was kind of disappointed by ESO's decision to, as you can see here, Mid-Year Mayhem canceled due to Group Finder. So I think this is some BS that they're trying to push onto the PvP community, that they've made the choice to cancel the mid-year mayhem. It's not like we as a PvP community have a large amount of content even to deal with between, empty IC, the persistent lag in Cyrodiil, the continued server performance when it comes to PvP and Cyrodiil, whether you're even in BGs with the BG queues. This has been a long time problem that ESO has had between neglecting, I guess, what is now the minority group within the ESO community, namely their PvPers. And so I had been enjoying on and off the ESO PvP content. You can see here, I've actually been an ESO member since February 8th, 2014. The game came out in April. A game came out April 4th, 2014. So I was part of the early access. I did some of the, the alpha betas that were out. Did enjoy the game. It is a very far cry from what it was, at least in terms of PvP performance. I purchased the game way back in 2014 for PvP, and of course over the years the game has steadily declined to the point where literally we were probably in the hundreds at this point in terms of the active player base. At least on PCNA, I could reasonably say during prime time in Cyrodiil you maybe 300 people who are trying to PvP on that buggy server that they have, and then of course maybe around another 50 people who are trying to make their way into battlegrounds. I think most people are kind of talking about the need to remove the MMR system. In my opinion, I really don't even think that there is sort of an MMR system, because on any given day I could be matched with people who are good PvPers, and on any day I could be matched with people who are nowhere near the level of PvP experience that I have. In my opinion, the reason that people are having issues with the queue system, and where people are basically with long queue times, especially if you're in a group, is because there's no one there. In my opinion, as a ESO Battlegrounds exclusive content as a Battlegrounds exclusive content creator, ever since the inception of Battlegrounds, I stopped doing open world. I never really was into PvE and ESO. I bought the game because I was a PvPer. I came from Guild Wars 2. I came from Lineage 2. I played WoW. I played Rift. I played Ion. I am an MMO PvPer for the better part of the past, I'd say, 10 plus years. And so that's why I bought the Elder Scrolls Online, because of their promise of PvP with hundreds of players and no lag. And of course, for those who don't remember, that was ESO's original advertisement that they advertised both online and on TV, was their promise for hundreds of people under large keep fights with no lag. And of course, 5 years later, here we are, basically can't PvP without lag. And the only time the servers aren't lagging is when no one is logged in the server. And so the concept, the idea that they're trying to persistently push to the community is that, we've canceled the mid-year mayhem because we're really, we're dedicated this time. We mean it. I think it's all bullshit. I think they're just, feeding us a line. I really don't think that they're going to be working on the queue system, because the queue system is a real easy fix. It doesn't really take a genius to understand. All you have to do is code, are you ready to be ported to the battleground? Yes or no. You click yes, you get ported into the battlegrounds. It fills up the 12 slots, and then the countdown begins. That is not difficult to handle. Any indie game can do that. If you've played Mordha ports people in. It gives you the choice. You can click left or right. You're only allowed to click, depending upon which team has the lower number, and that's basically how they keep it balanced. Real simple. It's like even an indie game that you buy for $20 can get it done. Yet a triple MMA, triple A, gaming company can't get it done for the better part of 5 years. In my opinion, it's just that they just don't care about PvP, because the PvP community left when they introduced the lighting patch and they couldn't fix the server lag, and ever since then the vast majority of people have left the game. In terms of PvP, most of us who have hung on for the better part of the past few years were hanging on, hoping that they were going to at some point get it together. But as more of us leave and more of us move on to other games and PvP in different genres and in different games, ZeniMax realizes there's no point in fixing these things because there's just no money there. So from their standpoint, they just keep on telling us that they've fixed these things just to hold on to the people who are there, to quiet the complaints on the forums. The sad thing is that people, even to this day, 5 years later, are still taking ZeniMax's side and telling people to stop complaining, that they've canceled this, you should be happy that they're canceling this and that they're really gonna make a change. It's like, do you really believe that? It's like, either you must be new or you must be gullible to believe that ZOS really is working on these things and that there's going to be some sort of a change. They've been trying to make many of these changes supposedly for the past few years, between telling people to spread out and then introducing things like the Volendrum weapon, that literally is the opposite of people spreading out, which is the whole point of how many times Gina kept writing on the forums that we needed to spread out. You guys are clumping up in one area, and of course the reason that people clump up is because the Cyrodiil map is too big. The original design of the map was designed for 2,000 players, so of course when you have a tiny population, no one wants to spend their time running from point A to B for the better part of 5 or 10 minutes, get zerged down and rinse repeat that process. So people just hang out. They way back when, you could look at the ESO Cyrodiil map. Taking a look at the map, originally this huge map here was designed for the better part of 2,000 players, and so of course when you run from here to here, or you go from here to here, you would see X's on your map. And of course at that time there was a huge player base who was PvPing, and so you'd open your map and there would be X's all over the map, and you could pick, I'll go to this fight, I'll go to this fight, I'll go to this fight, I'll take this fight down here. But nowadays when you open your map, even during prime time, you might see one fight here, you might see one fight here. So people typically just go to the closest fight, and because no one wants to ride for long periods of times in this huge open map that is a horse simulator, people get tired of that, so they just go to the same spot. They all group up at the same spot. And so of course, between having everybody going to the same spot, everybody spamming abilities in the same spot, the introduction of CP only made things worse in the game in terms of lag and PvP. So especially with this huge map, you're not going to be able to control people. Even adding more places for people to take doesn't matter because the map is too big. And of course, until they cut the size of the map, because they've already cut the amount of players that the actual map can hold, because originally this huge map was designed for the 2,000 plus players. And so at this point we have maybe 300 during pop locked, and of course you can just use a simple add-on that tells you how many people from either side are near you during a keep fight, and then it's really easy to tell how many people are basically on the map at any given time. Of course, with the removal of IC, that still remained empty. Like really nobody in PCNA, it's the vast majority of the time it lays empty. Maybe you might find 10 people between all the three sides in there, either farming or looking for people who are farming. It's like it's a dead content. It's dead space. And they were thinking, by removing this population, of course, that it was going to decrease the lag. And it was like, really? Like, why would you even think that? Like, nobody went there to begin with. And so, and I've often said, it's not just that ZeniMax doesn't have the resources enough dedicated to making PvP content great. They also, even the resources that they do have, they are not competent. Whoever is working on their PvP is not competent in designing PvP content. The addition of Volendrum proves that. How many times did they say spread out, spread out, spread out, and then introduce a weapon that basically everybody's going to end up running to? It just forces people to congregate in one spot, either to obtain the weapon or to kill the person who has the weapon. So it's entirely backwards according to their long-standing cries on the forums from their ESO reps to spread out, that everybody is hanging out in one spot, and that's what causes the lag. And then they introduce something that directly counters that whole logic. It just a lot of the decisions that they make just don't make sense, and the reason that they don't is because they don't understand how to create good PvP content. And so for me, I've decided, they've taken the stance to not make any real changes for PvP. I've supported them financially for the better part of 5 years between buying their expansions. I've been a sub for the better part of 5 years. I think maybe I canceled my sub for maybe 3 months over the course of the past 5 years. And so I've made the choice to basically not continue my sub for the game. I'll probably be limiting the amount of time that I play ESO, and I'll be looking to play some other games that at the very least are making PvP content. It is what it is. I think as a PvP community, we have to take a stand, because if we don't, then nothing will change. If we just keep on passively giving them our money, because $15 is nothing. It might not be a lot to you. You're not even thinking about it. You're like, I need the craft bag, or I get free crowns or whatnot. But the reality is that if you passively just keep giving them money and don't take a stand, well, then nothing changes. And either nothing changes in this game, and then maybe that forces them to make a change, or the game dies and a new developer in a new company comes along and says, I'll learn from the mistakes of ESO and I'll make it better. By a company's actions, you end up creating your own content. I should say you end up creating your own competition. When you get too big, when you think shit is sweet, and you take things for granted, and you take your player base for granted, eventually what happens is someone comes along and they make a better product, and then you end up losing out. It could be Ashes of Creation. It could be a number of games that are coming out either towards the end of the year or early next year, and when you lose those players, they just don't come back. Some people come back to see, has the lag changed? Has it gotten better? Have they, made any better content? And of course, that isn't the case. Unfortunately, you have some people who stream ESO, and I guess it's because it's their only source of living. So they kind of drag you back in, maybe not being entirely honest about the current situation. But the reality is that the lag is at a point where I haven't PvP'd in Cyrodiil for the better part of a year, and then last week I did a little bit of open world Cyrodiil. I couldn't believe how dramatically the the stability of the servers have changed, where abilities don't work, huge delays, pots don't go off, ultimates don't go off. And all it serves to do, of course, is to provide more people who just zerg, because your abilities don't go off and you're trying to fight multiple people and your abilities don't go off, your pot doesn't go off, your heal doesn't go off, you dodge roll but you still get hit through dodge roll by things that are single target abilities that shouldn't hit you, and it just creates a sense of frustration, of course. And that's not why we PvP. We come together for the competitive spirit, to fight one another in the spirit of competition, to get better. And it seems that the people in charge of ESO are not looking for people to get better. In my opinion, they've dumbed down their game so much because they feel that their players can't get better. And so the game is so dumbed down that even the current player base it's sad when I watch other people's streams and I'm just like, how are you CP, 1200, 1000, 1100, and you literally don't even understand simple mechanics of CC breaking, dodge rolling, and healing? It's like, how have you been playing all this time and even simple mechanics like that you don't even understand? And it's for me, it's just not an environment where you can have, like, what we used to have, which was much more competitive PvP, especially with the introduction of more and more proc sets. It's like the developers just don't know how to create PvP content, so they just give people free procs, the increase in light attack damage. They remove counterplay, left and right. They just continually, raise the floor and lower the ceiling, and it doesn't create an environment that stirs competition. And I say it all the time, when you look at, what is it that people are looking for in MMOs, you take a look at anything that is on Twitch, and everything is related to PvP, right? Between League of Legends, Fortnite, Team Tactics, Super Mario Maker, Dota. It's like the vast majority of the games that you see on here and that are doing well are games that support PvP. One day, ZeniMax will get it, they'll wake up, the game will die, and of course, something else will come along and replace it. But for me, I've been enjoying playing some Mordha. I streamed it a little bit. I do enjoy it. I get that feeling of PvP enjoyment. There isn't that sense of frustration because, shit isn't broken, and it's like the queues pop really quick. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, it's it's available on Steam. It's probably like under $30. I bought it for $23 and I really enjoy it. It has build diversity as well. You can play as a range damage dealer, a melee damage dealer. You can play as a tank. There's even like support roles for their it's a 64-64 kind of tug of war. If you like, like that medieval style combat, I would give it a chance. I mean, for $20-30, it'll give you a lot of PvP enjoyment. I like it. As a PvPer, I would recommend it. It's really good in passing the time. I find myself when I'm playing ESO and I'm feeling frustrated, I'm like, you know what? I should just go boot up Mordha. It's like, why am I paying $15 a month to have a stupid craft bag, to sit there and have to farm sets, do PvE content that I don't want to do, when really all I want to do is PvP. I was like, I might as well just go, give my money to at least a developer that is providing me what I want. And that's what I would recommend. Support those financially. Support those companies that offer the content that you're looking for. If you're a PvPer, look for games that are supporting PvP communities and show your support with your wallet so that those companies can stay in business. But at the same time, when you're dealing with a company that is ignoring you, waiting around and either being an extra number that logs in, or being a person who passively gives them money, or maybe you buy a little skin from the Crown store, it's like you're just enabling the bad behavior. And so this is my stance. This is what I chose to do. I chose to cancel my subscription. I couldn't post it on the forums, and I know ESO doesn't allow you to do that anyway. So this is me as Infamous. This is just basically, me taking my stand, and I hope that you'll take your stand right along with me. Take care. Thanks for listening. Take care and God bless.